as in 32 years ago, and still hasn't been found. So, Ben Needham was born on October the 29th, 1989 in Boston, Lincolnshire. And this is where I normally do a bit of background information on the childhood and everything, but sadly he was only 21 months old at the time of his disappearance, so there isn't any background really. In July 1991, Ben and his family were on holiday on the Greek island of Kos. It was a holiday that would turn the family's life upside down forever. Ben's grandparents, Eddie and Christine Needham, owned a home in the village of Iraklis. On July 24th, 1991, Ben was left with his grandparents at the home. This home was a farmhouse and they were in the process of renovating it. And they were looking after Ben whilst his mother went to work at a local hotel. Ben had spent the morning playing and he was coming in and out of the house, you know, as little kids do. Then at around 2:30 p.m, the family realised he was no longer on the property. Assuming he had just wandered off, they began searching the area. They also considered the possibility that his teenage uncle Stephen had taken him for a ride on his moped without informing anyone. After no luck in their own search, they notified police. The police initially suspected the family in foul play, and so they started interviewing them, and because of this, it delayed the airport and the docks being informed that Ben was missing. The Hellenic Police, Army and Fire Brigade would spend the next 11 days searching for Ben, but unfortunately they found nothing. No evidence, just absolutely no trace of Ben. And at that point they said they had no theories, they didn't know what had happened. He said it was like a huge unsolved mystery. In 1993, so 2 years later, the UK Prime Minister at the time, John Major, requested further searches were carried out, which they did, but again it turned up absolutely nothing. Over the years, there have been over 300 reported sightings of Ben on both Greek mainland and several islands. Most of these were between 91 and 92. In 1995, the family were given some hope when a private investigator found a blonde boy who was around 6 years old, and he was living with a Romani family in a camp in Salonika, Greece. The child reportedly told the investigator that he had been given to them because his own parents didn't want him, but sadly the police determined that the boy wasn't Ben, and all hopes were lost once again. The police said that boy's birth certificate was authentic and that he had actually been left with the Romani family by his birth father, who was in prison. In November of 1998, a man named John Cookson reported a blonde boy aged around 10 on a beach in Rhodes. It struck him as odd because the boy was the only fair-haired child amongst a group of dark-haired Greek children. So due to his suspicions, he took a photo of the boy and then he went and he pretended to tussle the child's hair, and he did that so he could get a DNA sample, which he handed over to police. Unfortunately, once again, it was determined this child wasn't Ben. The DNA didn't match and his family were able to provide infant photographs of him to prove that that was their child. In 2003, after becoming aware that not much was being done really to find Ben, other than by his family obviously, an investigator named Ian Crosby set up a website, and this was called benneedhamstillmissing.info, and this was the first one to draw attention to the case. Unfortunately, the website doesn't exist anymore, so I couldn't, go on and read exactly how he sort of garnered attention and whatnot. But this was the catalyst for setting up like a media awareness campaign. And in 2013, Ben's mum, Kerry, published a book, and that was simply called Ben. And I believe I've not read it, but I believe that book was sort of obviously about the disappearance and about how the investigator Ian really dove into the case and took it upon himself to investigate. So in October 2003, Ian would fly to Kos with Ben's uncle Danny to meet with Greek police. He'd been sent a photo from a woman who was in Turkey in 1999, and that depicted a blonde-haired child in a group of Turkish children, so similar again to the one in Rhodes. And the photo apparently resembled the age progression photo of Ben that had been released. When I was doing my research and everything, it's literally all that it said about this particular alleged sighting. So, I'm presuming the police determined again that it wasn't Ben, considering that was 21 years ago. Sadly, Ben's still missing, so I'm assuming that was not him. Ben's family came to the conclusion that he had been kidnapped for illegal adoption, to be sold, or by a child trafficking gang. But in 2007, someone named Carol Sala wrote in the Times newspaper, "I have repeatedly," this is a quote, direct quote, "I have repeatedly asked police and press, British and Greek, for a single example to support this rumour. There is none. When pretty little Western European kiddies go missing, we know about it. If we don't know, it isn't happening. Those of us who properly investigated Ben's disappearance are certain he was not abducted. Put bluntly, a child less than 2 toddling unsupervised for 5 hours on a baking, remote, inhospitable hillside that is still largely unsearched is easy prey to the lonely accident. In 1992, police used eFit software to produce what is thought to be the first ever age progression photo, and this was distributed on posters in airports all over Greece, and then they were updated and redistributed several times over the years, to show how we may have aged, obviously, because it's an age progression. Anyway, in October 2012, British police would fly to Kos to investigate an area they believed held Ben's remains. They began an operation searching the grounds of the property he disappeared from. They believed that Ben had been accidentally killed and buried by a digger that was dumping rubble and building material. However, despite the use of human remain detection dogs, geophysical survey equipment, and forensic archaeologists, they found nothing. In 2016, police told Kerry that they had been informed of a now deceased digger operator that had claimed Ben had died in an accident and they had hidden his body in building waste. So they embarked on another huge search in a different area to the one that they'd searched 4 years earlier. They dug up over 800 tonnes of soil, and any items of interest were then sent back to the UK for forensic analysis. A detective said that one item had been identified by the Needhams as having been in Ben's possession at the time of his disappearance. Due to this discovery, the detective stated that it was his professional opinion that Ben had died as a result of an accident near to where he had last been seen playing. In July 2017, it was revealed that the items, or some of the items found, were a toy car and a sandal, both of which were believed to have belonged to Ben. And I believe it was the car that they found that I've just spoken about. So they found traces of blood on them, but obviously they DNA tested it and it proved not to be Ben's blood, but the police believed it still strengthened the theory of an accident, whereas Kerry, Ben's mum, has said on the Facebook page that she thinks it might be a sign of some sort of cover-up. And obviously the Needhams don't believe that he died in an accident or that the digger operator had any involvement. Obviously that is a hard line to investigate because that man he did die, I think it was in 2015, possibly. Not sure if I read that. I might be wrong there, but anyway, he died. He naturally had cancer, I think. I'm pretty sure I read that anyway. So obviously he can't be interviewed. And it's just sad because if the police had been informed of this earlier, then they could have potentially found his remains and at least given some closure to the family. But I think the man that informed police only did it after he died. Yeah, that's just sad if that is what happened. Then, you know, they can't dig up the whole island, can they? So Ben's family still strongly believed they still do strongly believe he was kidnapped, and they continue to urge police to keep investigating all avenues. Kerry and Ben's sister have set up a Facebook page, like I mentioned, to try and keep the investigation active, and I'll link that in the description, so please do go and have a look at it. There's I've had a look through like the past couple of years of posts, and there's a lot of posters and things you can share, and they also post about other missing people as well. So yeah, it's go and have a look at it. It's also where I did get most of the pictures for the video today. Some of the posters and stuff, they all came from that. So yeah, I will link that in the description, and I'll pop in some other contact details for different organisations and authorities where any sightings and information can be reported. Excuse me. Obviously, it was a long time ago, you know. I'm making myself feel old because I'm 30, but this was 32 years ago, 33 years ago. So it's a long time ago, but you just never know. I know I'm a small channel, like a tiny channel, and I've only just started. I've only got a handful of followers, but you never know who might watch it and it trigger a bit of a memory or something. So I think it's important with anything unsolved like this, especially the disappearance of a 1-year-old child. I think it's important to make sure that information is readily available. I think some of the posters and pictures that I took from the Facebook page for the video as well, they also have contact details on them, but like I said, I will put them in the description as well. And like I say, if you were in the area at that time, even if you don't think anything's relevant, or it's only a tiny bit of information, just report it, because you just never know what could lead to a breakthrough, or yeah, so please report anything, no matter how inconsequential it may seem to you. So that is the very sad case of Ben Needham's disappearance, and my heart just completely breaks for his family. I can't even, nor do I want to try to imagine the pain that they've been going through for the last 33 years, 32 years, whatever it is. And I chose to cover this case over Madeleine McCann because this case, it's really not covered that much. much. It's not as well known. Every channel seems to cover Madeleine McCann, and while that is still incredibly heartbreaking, I want to get this little boy's name out there too. Let's give him the same chance, the same amount of money thrown at it. And the other reason I wouldn't do Madeleine McCann's case is because I have far too much to say on the matter, and it would just turn into a very long, personal, angry rant about it. So, yeah, not doing that. But little Ben's case, yeah, it's just not out there as much. I mean, I remember, was it 2016 when they did the second Big Dig search? I do remember that being on the news. To be honest, I didn't realise it was so long ago. I thought it was only a couple of years. And that was on the news, and it was breaking news. I do remember watching it. And I think for a few days, while the dig was ongoing, the news were on it. But then, it's disappeared from everyone's minds again. And this poor family are going through hell. And this case deserves the same amount of recognition that Madeleine McCann gets, as do many, many, many other cases of missing people, and I will cover more of them. The ones that aren't well known, they're what I'm going to try and focus on. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly which case I'll be doing next, but it will be a solved case. But I don't know which one it is yet, because I've got a few that I need to research. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching. I am so sorry about the background noise. Someone decided to start drilling and hammering literally the moment I started recording. And I've tried re-recording, I've tried waiting, and I'm just running out of time to record, so I'm really sorry. My mic does have a noise cancellation mode, but it is only a cheap mic. I think it was like 20 quid. And when I turn that on, it cancels the background noise out great. It also cancels out my whispering. So, yeah. And I just can't afford to get like a Blue Yeti or one of these higher end mics. So yeah, I'm sorry. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next